Hey, Shalom, Shalom, one stuff. So, always by giving no praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kodash, the belongs to the apostle of great Most and honors you brothers doing the work of the Most on truth and in sincerity. Yahweh's real name, of whom the world ignorantly calls God, Jehovah, or Yahweh, his real name is Yahweh, and the Son's true name is Yahweh Shai. And when we pray Yahweh, Ba Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba meaning in, Ha meaning then, Sham meaning name, so Yahweh, the name of Yahweh Shai. So quick one. So I'd seen this magazine cover, which call it when it first came out. This is Beyonce in British Vogue, and obviously you see that that really red horse that you see the way they've got the lighting on it and everything. Um, and yeah, you just look at the image and it's like there's something not quite right about it to say the very least. Okay, but then recently I saw an album cover from recently, right? And it's a similar thing, but this time it's more like a white horse, right? From 2 days ago, British Vogue once again. So hey, red horse, they put the red horse first, and then the white horse after, right? And then you've got you see some of these other images, and there's a whole load of symbology, that these guys get into, right? Now, obviously, when we see, hey, red horse, white horse, we think of the scriptures, Revelation, the sixth chapter, right? Which I'm just gonna get into, see where the spirit leads. Well, but we understand that she's what you call this whore is a is definitely one of them like priestesses or something, right? Her and her husband are through, right? Doing the Esau's bidding, right? We'll get into the scriptures, enough of them. This is Revelation 6 from the top. Says, and I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, right, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer, right. It says the white represents purity, right. A horse represents power, the chariot that Yahweh Shai was in, right. He referencing Yahweh Shai, because when you read the scriptures, the Lord is coming back in what this so-called white man refers to as a UFO. Right, this is Acts 1 and 9. Right, it says, and when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. Right, and this wasn't like a cumulonimbus cloud or a Cirrus cloud. No, this was a chariot, right? One of the chariots of Israel. So you see, what I actually want is Revelation 1 and 7, right? And this is how also we know how the Lord is going to come back. In fact, no, let me actually finish it because I didn't actually finish reading that, right? It says, while they yet steadfast, verse 10, and while they yet steadfastly, while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand you gazing up into heaven? The same Yahushua which is taken up from you into heaven shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. That's basically what was being said was, look, man, a Yahushua went in a chariot, you gonna come back in a chariot, right? We're seeing if there's anything to garner from there anymore. So we jump to Revelation 1 and 7 now. It says, behold, he cometh with clouds, right? So same wording there, right? It says, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, right? And all kindreds of the earth shall woe because of him, even so among, right? And this kind of covers a few things, right? It covers reincarnation, covers the chariots, right? But reincarnation in that, they also which pierced him, right? In those clouds, once again, it's referencing the chariots, right? The chariots of Israel, right? And also when they get I was it Revelation, no, not Revelation, Maccabees or Ezra. I want Ezra, Salakia. I can't read. Where is Ezra's? I'll just jump to it manually. See, sometimes you try to be lazy, and being lazy takes more time than just going straight to the point, right? This is Second Ezra 13, Right, and 3, he says, and I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him. Right, it says, how shine the angels? Right, which is similarly spoken of once again in Revelation 1 itself. Because this is the thing, the prophets saw, was seeing the same things, right, written ever so slightly differently, right? But this is the same event. It says, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. Right, it says the fire from the chariots and from the ICBMs. Right, it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Right, the chariots will encompass the whole earth, so there will be armies from all nations coming from the four winds, attempting to fight Yahushua and the angels. Right, it says in the book of Revelation, this multitude is referred to as the beast. Right, out of the sea, out of space. Right, but I beheld, right, and lo, and he graved himself a great mountain, right, and flew up upon it, right, Yahushua's chariot. It says, but I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. As Ezra could not see where the hill was carved from, because it was a chariot, right, and it was a huge chariot at that. Then after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight, well, because the Lord was going to put the spirit in them to do so. Right, it says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flame and breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempest, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flame and breath, and the great tempest, and felt violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Right, so that's going into like the laser beams, right, and projectiles are going to be, whatever kind of like projectiles we know, but the lasers will be coming out the chariots, right, to be fighting against these nations that are going to try and fight up against Yahweh Shai, right? Like, but that goes on and says, look, man, all of those that are going to try and fight, they're just going to get zapped, right? So that, you go and see a whole lot of people 1 second, and the next second you just go and have, the dust, right, and smell of smoke. It's going to be burnt up, right? And, once again, that's referring to the chariot that Yahushua is going to be coming in, right? So that's what we're reading about here in, Revelation 6 and 2. Right, it says, and when he had opened so Revelation 6 and 3 now says, and when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, right, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another. And was given unto him a great sword. Right, so a horse that was red, as he saw, a so-called white man. Once again, a horse representing the power. Right, and red, Genesis 25 and 30. Right, let's open that up. All right, I can close that now. All right, it says in Genesis 25:30, and Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. Right? It says take peace from earth, and that's what these Edomites have been doing. Right? They've been taking peace from earth, man. Habakkuk 2, 5, and 6. When that great, as an example, this is that great sword that was his blessing, right? Esau was blessed with the sword. And, the greatest sword that the Lord gave him was them ICBM nuclear missiles. Okay, you can read also about that in Isaiah 54:16, right? Smith that blow off the coals on the fire. That's all. But ultimately, who manufactured that? That was Yahweh Shai, right? Put the spirit on this devil to do that. Right, verse 5 says, when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast saying, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. Right, so the black horse represents judgment, and also the time that the children of Israel were taken to the Americas to serve slavery. Right, it says balances really means yoke, right? Zugos in the Greek, right, i.e. slavery, Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Right, it says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Right, it says, it's referring to what, 2nd Ezra 16:21. Let's see what that says. Oh, yes, it says, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion, which is what you're going to see in these last days, man. Right? We're going to see in these last days great famines upon the land. Right? It says penny, day's wages in Greek, right? And that oil representing, the tenth, for instance, like, what base what the Slaki. We slow down. We slow down. So gather my thoughts, Slaki. Right, the oil and the wine, like two thoughts coming in, trying to get out at the same time. Um, but yeah, the oil, the wine representing the truth, right? Or you can read Matthew 25, verses 1 to 13, right? So when he had opened the fourth seal, right, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. Right, and I looked, and I behold a pale horse, and his name that sat thereon, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed after him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Now, so the pale horse represents what is written in 2nd Ezra 15 and 16, right? Hell, the grave once again. Right, it's tagged as hell because hell here is moving. Yes, like, follow. Hell doesn't follow anything. Okay, as in, in that Christian dogma, right? The hell was supposed to be this place underground, but this once again proven that is just Christian BS, that hell thing, right? Verse 9 says, when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of the Most High, and for the testimony which they held. And they cried a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood, right, on them that dwell on the earth? Right? It says, those that died in the Lord, right, died in the truth, plead with Yahweh, to hasten the day, right? And just, those that have died before, and also now us that remain on earth, we plead with the Lord to bring about the end of this man's kingdom, right? Some white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little while, for a little slack, and should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled, right, during the time of persecution, 2nd Ezra 16:70 to 72, right, saying, I beheld, right, when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black and sackcloth, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as the fig tree casteth her untimely figs, right, which when she is shaken of a mighty wind, right? Stars of heaven, ICBMs, Revelation 8 and 10, right? Likened to figs because of the way they fall, right? Mighty wind referring to the nuclear destruction, right? Almost finished, right? It says, verse 14 says, and the heaven departed as a scroll, as it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places, right? Heaven departed, east was heaven, rulership, right? Mountain and island, figuratively referring to governments of the world, but also literally as a miracle be completely destroyed. Because when the Lord is done with this destruction, there ain't gonna be no more America, right? Scriptures refer to the line of confusion. You ain't gonna be able to tell what this is New York. Oh shit, yeah, that's this monument that was in Texas. There's gonna be none of that, right? The Lord is gonna completely waste that land. And the kings of the earth, the great men and the rich men and the chief captains and the mighty men, and every bondman and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, right? Because they're gonna, try and hide, but we're gonna grab them up, right? Let's read this real quick, right? Close that. It says, and though they, Amos 9:2, though they dig into hell, then shall mine hand take them. Though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. And though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, I'll search and take them out thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, Thence will I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. So wherever these elites go and hide, Lord's gonna be able, gonna put a spirit on his men to be able to find them and to take them, right, and bring them into captivity. Similar to what Psalms 149, right, if Revelation 6:16 now says, and said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us, right, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath has come, and who shall be able to stand? Right. So, that was, Revelation, the sixth chapter, right? Red horse, white horse, red horse, right? Inspired, by this imagery that these elites, are pushing out by using this witch, Beyonce Knowles, right? So, yeah, as always, laws that was edifying. And yeah, man, our people that have sold out to Esau, right, to basically, push and do all of these things, man, the Lord's gonna deal with them, right? I don't understand, all of this imagery that I'm seeing, but I know it's wicked imagery, right? You see there, that's, a crown on, the one on the right, the top right image and everything. So, yeah, man, these two, her and her husband, right? They gonna receive some hella punishment in these last days. Right? Once again, this ain't about them, man. It's about the Lord, right? And yeah, man. The time of righteousness is almost here. So those Lords will those edifying. Until next time, we say shalom.